FEMA Administrator Brock Long joins us now. He's in FEMA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Good morning to you, Brock. The pictures certainly look treacherous. What's your biggest concern right now, and what's your best advice?
Well, you guys have been showing it. The inland coastal towns like New Bern are experiencing basically the ocean rising, what we've been saying, what forecasters have been predicting, 9 feet of storm surge. And I'm concerned that it's only going to get worse at this point, because when a system like this stalls out, regardless of whether it's a Cat 1 or a Cat 4, it continues to just pump water into those back bay and inlet areas. And that, coupled with a high tide that's going to be coming later today, it's just not, it's not setting up to be a good event for anybody.
Yeah, and your best advice? We keep saying to people, stay. We told people to evacuate. As you see, many of them did not. Your best advice now?
Look, you know, I can't speak for the individual situations. We wish people would heed the warnings. And what you just showed on your newscast is great. This is the system at work. The way we support the search and rescue is that we try to pre-deploy thousands of people down, search and rescue teams, swift water rescue teams, to help the heroes at the local level there in New Bern and in the communities that are going through this to backfill their capability. What's unfortunate is that these guys have to risk their lives to go in and save people that did not heed the warnings for whatever reason. We got a long way to go in that cultural preparedness I keep talking about, and helping people understand what their risks are, how to mitigate their situation, and just really trying to communicate, this is why we ask you to leave. That is exactly the reason we ask people to evacuate, is the ocean rising.
Right. Administrator Long, have you spoken to the president this morning?
I am scheduled to speak with him later today.
You talked about the storm stalling and that being a big concern for you right now. It's a similar phenomenon that we saw with Harvey. Obviously, we know the consequences Houston faced from Harvey. Is FEMA prepared to deal with similar effects if this storm does last not for hours, but for days over these areas?
Right, so this is going to be a frustrating event. You're going to see the infrastructure knocked out. This is not something you can go in and fix while the storm is occurring. And unfortunately, you're exactly right. It's going to move in. It's less than 6 miles an hour forward speed. It may slow down even more before it hooks back to the northeast. You're going to see rainfall measured in feet, not inches. And we have pre-positioned a lot of stuff. So when it comes to, for example, power, we help the private power companies to help them, you know, put their mutual aid agreements together, pre-stage their equipment to be able to move in as quickly as they can. You know, we're there to support emergency communications from the private sector communications capabilities. But this is going to be a frustrating event, and I think you might see similar inland flooding damage that Floyd presented, that Joaquin presented to South Carolina, or Floyd presented to North Carolina. You're going to see a devastating impact to the agriculture industry in eastern North Carolina, most likely. And so we work with our partners at what we call Emergency Support Function 11, Agriculture and Industries, and then we also work with the EPA to be ready to go for any hazardous materials events. So we're as pre-positioned as we can be. We just have to wait and see what Mother Nature throws at us.
And how long, or what's the next stage for FEMA? So you've pre-positioned, now you're watching the first responders react. When is the next big action by FEMA in these kinds of situations?
Right now, our priority is taking care of people and saving lives. Search and rescue is our priority. I cannot replace a life. I can help governors and local communities. We fund a great amount of money in the recovery to rebuild the infrastructure, and that's our focus. As this system pushes through, what we'll start to do as soon as we can get crews in is stabilize what we call critical lifelines. The power and fuel infrastructure, the communications infrastructure is what we'll be focused on. We have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to get the lights back on. As soon as we get the lights back on, you solve 95% of the infrastructure problem.
How long does that last, that duty? I mean, the storm will be gone and FEMA will be responsible for what happens, or tending to what happens, for what period of time?
So local governments, this is a partnership. You know, emergency management is locally executed, state managed, federally supported, but we will be with the state of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia through the duration of recovery. And a lot of people don't realize that FEMA right now has over 700 open disasters that we are working across this country, half the globe, from Guam all the way to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And so we are with communities. We are a huge grant funding agency. So what we do is we typically bring in technical assistance resources to help fix infrastructure not only months after the disaster, but years after the disaster.
All right,
So,
Brock Long, we're
yeah.
going to have to leave it there. We thank you. You've got a busy day ahead. We'll be watching.